I am Joey Mullen, and I am from Badfinger, and I'm an old man now. And you're watching.
It's called
Rockstar
Wannabe TV.
It's called Rockstar Wannabe TV, and that's what you're watching right now. I suppose if you're a rockstar wannabe, then this would be the thing to watch.
I'm hoping you're out there, Rockstar Wannabes. And Joey Mullen, welcome.
Do you think anybody ever really wants to be a rock star?
I think they want the parking. They want the groupies.
Do you think so?
I think they want the rock star parking. Don't you ever just don't you just pull up and all of a sudden there's
No,
a spot right in front?
I don't think I ever met I never met a rock star, legitimate rock star, and I've met a few in my time, as you can imagine, that really really wanted to be a rock star, or really did it because he thought he could pick up chicks. Most of the ones I've met became rock stars because they had this initial love for playing an instrument. It was, in my case, I had Blue Suede Shoes by Elvis,
and that was it.
And that was the end of my catapults and riding bikes and bows and arrows and climbing trees and doing all the stuff that I was doing like a regular kid.
Yeah.
All that went right out the window, and I wanted to play the guitar, and I went right into the parlour and started to teach myself. But I saw Elvis Presley sing, I saw Little Richard sing, I saw Bill Haley sing, I saw all the great singers, Chuck Berry singing, all of that stuff. And then Sam and Dave, and then Aretha Franklin, and then B.B. King, and all of these people. And the thing that comes to a fellow from Liverpool's mind is, who the hell are you to think that you can be in a band?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because look at these people, how great they are.
When you all of a sudden you get the guitar in the parlor and you're kind of going at it and you're figuring that out, what was the first foray out into performing for you?
My friend and I, after playing for about 2 or 3 years, and I could play some Chuck Berry now, I'd started going around to a friend of mine, Pete Edge Pigeon. He had a little amplifier, a homemade amp, and I started going around to his house. I can't remember how I met him, but I started going around to his house, and we'd learn our Chuck Berry songs together. And he could sing. I couldn't sing nothing, but he could sing. And so we started to go down to the south end of Liverpool and play in pubs. Real public houses, two of us, with a mic and a little amp. And we'd play anything really. Who's Sorry Now? We'd play, Crying Waiting Open, Buddy Holly songs. We'd play Chuck Berry stuff. We'd play Little Richard. We'd play whatever songs we knew. Yeah. And at the end of the night, we'd send a glass round. Pint glass, and the people would put the quarters in.
The pub wasn't paying anything.
No, the pub didn't pay you any money for it.
They're glad to have you help.
And you just sang songs for the people. You played a couple of half hours or an hour or something, and they'd pay you a bit of money. And we did it for a lark more than anything else. It was a great way to make a few extra. Well, we didn't have any money. We used to mend our own shoes and stuff. We made a couple of little records. And then one thing and another, it was 1969 actually, and I got offered an audition with the band Ivies. They were recording for the Beatles.
What was that? How'd that phone call come? What was that day like?
It was just a message. I was staying at my brother's. I didn't have a phone. I was sleeping on my brother's couch in Liverpool, and somebody called somebody in Liverpool. Like I think a fellow named Bob Adcock called a guy named Billy Kinsley. Billy was the bass player in the Mersey Beats, and you can Google the Mersey Beats.
Oh yeah.
But Billy was the bass player, and he gave me the message because I was just knocking around Liverpool at that point, seeing a few friends. I'd been.
And you'd never met the Beatles or rubbed elbows that close with them yet?
No, I'd been famous. I was already a little bit famous. I'd written some hit songs. For a band called Gary Walker and the Rain, and I toured, toured England and Japan and a little bit in Europe. I'd played all over England and Scotland and Wales.
You had no idea you were going to get that call.
Well, no, because you're a musician, really. You're just playing and hanging around with your mates and doing those things, and then somebody calls up and says, "Hey, there's a band here, and they're working with the Beatles, and they want you to go and audition for them." I guess they'd auditioned a load of people.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out. So I went down and I auditioned, and they gave me the job. They liked me. I sang a few songs, and they liked me. I had a bit of experience. And the next thing you know, the band changed their name to Badfinger, and Come and Get It came out. Paul had already produced it and written it and all that, and given it to the band.
Yeah.
The bass player had left, and that's why there came a job, because when the bass player Ron Griffith, he was the bass player in the Ivies. He left for whatever reason, getting married or something, having a baby, and. So they were looking for a bass player first, and then Tommy Evans was the guitar player.
Switched over to bass.
He went over to bass, and they started looking for a guitar player.
Did he mind doing that?
No, he loved it. He wanted to play bass,
Really?
because he wanted the band to have a bit more, I think, heft on the bottom end. Ron was a little bit jazzier, a bit lighter weight, I think, although he was a great player and singer. So anyway, I went and auditioned and got the job, and they gave me the job, and we went to work right away. We went to work writing songs and recording and doing all the normal things a rock band does, and we got successful.
So how about that moment, though, when you come in? Were the Beatles, were any of them there when you auditioned?
No, it was nothing to do with the Beatles.
It was just
the Beatles owned a record label, and they were like any other people at the time. They owned the record label. They would also own the Beatles.
Yeah.
But they owned a record label, and this band was signed to that record label. So it wasn't like the Beatles were coming, around.
Yeah, but you ended up meeting them, and you ended up doing work with them.
Yeah, we did a lot of work with them, but other than McCartney produced the single, and that was a big hit, obviously a big break for the band. But then the band went and recorded the entire first album and stuff. There wasn't any Beatle involvement in that.
Yeah.
Mal produced it, and Jeff Emmerich, who of course were, Beatle employees, from Abbey Road and all that stuff. We worked in Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And it was after that George said, "Hey, will you come and play some guitars for us on
All Things Must Pass"?
All Things Must Pass. The Beatles had broken up now, and so he was doing a solo album, and he asked us to play with him. So we went and played with him, and then John was doing Imagine, and George was working with him on that. And so John said, "Will you come and play some guitars for us as well?" For me, and so we said, yeah, and we went and did that too. And then Ringo was doing it, Don't Come Easy, and George was producing that, and George said, "Hey, will you come and sing?" On this. So I didn't go. Tommy and Pete went and sang with Ringo and that stuff. So we were just around, because we were signed to Apple Records, and we could play and we could sing and we could write, and we had I think we had a real good sensibility towards what they wanted, and when they wanted acoustic guitars, we could could do the need, we could supply the need. So it was time and place and all of that, and of course, it worked out great. I mean, it couldn't have worked out better for a guy like me.
Yeah.
The band, as a group, they just want to continue being, what shall we say, like a traveling band. They just want to be on the road forever, I think. I don't have any aspirations to want to do that all the time, because I think emotionally, after 40 years on the road, you either become like a journeyman musician, or you carry on just being as inventive as possible. And I'm the latter, I'm very sort of into being inventive. I don't think I just want to play shows that I was doing years ago and just repetition. It's a very, for me emotionally, it just doesn't seem to make it work. There's no real path in the immediate future as to how music should get out there. Record companies are not as dominant as they were, so the way to get music out there is via the internet, and so I decided to work with musicians. Just most of them I've never met. I just meet them via the internet, and they send me their musical ideas, and if it registers with me, and I'll sing stuff right away, and then send it back, and then we sort of do that 2 or 3 times until we get into a really good position that we feel the music's finished and the song and the lyric and everything work. So so, over a period of, it's just a different way of making music, Tour after tour after tour, your brain starts to get mushy. And, there's a lot of crazy things out there, So you're out on the road. When you're 40, when you're 30, you're 40, you want to rock and roll. I don't know how the Stones do it, but, you want to rock and roll. I'm 66 this year. I can't go out there and be 40 years old. It's impossible, and because everything suffers, eventually. So you've got to try and expand your musical horizons and stuff, and you just start dreaming. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I was on Long Island working with teenagers that I've worked with a few years ago from the School of Rock, and we were doing a 20-minute piece of music that I created for them to play on. It's a sort of Yes style, classic style Yes piece of music, and they played it amazing. They just loved to perform on it, and so you think, okay, well, next summer maybe I'll go out with them and do some festivals and young kids and bring a couple of really good musicians along who've played on stages before. You get the younger people who it's new to them, getting up on stage when they're teens, and just say, let's go on tour, but a couple of shows a week. That's not great.
When you were kind of growing in your career and you hadn't quite, quote unquote, made it, who kind of excited you and who did you aspire to be like? And then secondly, I've already heard you talk about the things that you dream about now. I mean, after all you've done, what really excites you? I guess those are my two questions.
Well, when we were just starting up in London as a band, I'd been with my first band for 6 years then, and I'd traveled all over Europe. So by the time I got back, in Europe, I'd seen Wes Montgomery, I'd seen Nina Simone, I'd seen Jimi Hendrix. You see these people, oh boy, did they make you wait, they make you think, gosh, to be able to be part of that profession that creates these amazing, talented people. And then, I think at the time in London, one of the big bands was called Family, and I just thought it'd be great to be as big as them.